Welcome to the diplomatic mission for the Cygnus. I'm Ambassador Nectaria, and today we're going to talk about the birth certificate. Did you know that Revelation 18 is something that's already been happening since 1933? This isn't something we have to wait for, it's already been happening. We're actually, in my opinion, phasing out into a better new age called the Kingdom Age. So therefore, I'm going to share some tough news with you, but I'm also going to share good news with you. So the birth certificate, since 1933, has the mother on the bottom as an informant. And what this does is it turns the mother into one who informs on a crime. And the crime that took place was that there was a birth that took place in a bankruptcy. And the bankruptcy specifically is the Emergency Banking Relief Act of 1933, which renders, since all funds at that time are based on debt, there was projected futures contracts coming out, and the birth certificate is reminiscent of these types of contracts. So you can see that the birth certificate is on a special securities type of paper. It's almost like similar to what bonds are made out of, and so forth, certain things that carry value. So the issue is, the bad news is they opened a corporation at our birth. And the infrastructure they were creating on this, they were doing this in the early 1900s. There was a Justice Marshall Harlan that described that there was something problematic and that there was something occult going on, but he couldn't apprehend it due to the evil that was occurring. So it's hidden in it. So the birth certificate has the all caps name. Now, even if one has upper and lowercase, that is still, there's a presumed relationship. So when the mother announced you, now she didn't do this on purpose, of course, but she is the informant. So she announced you and brought you into this jurisdiction by her signature. Of course, there's a registrar's seal at the bottom. That is the aspect of a adhesion agreement, which is obviously unconscionable. One-sided agreements are not valid. They're unconscionable. However, we still have a duty to release ourselves from this presumed status that we have. So I called up the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, because that's where my birth certificate was issued out of, the Department of Public Health, Registry of Vital Records and Statistics, and I called all the way back, I think, in 2012. Of course, I've been studying this stuff for a very long time. Public law I've been studying since 2001, thereabouts. And of course, this arena, I would kind of call it private law. I've been studying this since 2009 in a heavy way. So I called up the registry and I said, look, I heard that maybe that this name is some kind of a corporate entity. Is this true? And the lady was kind enough to say, yes, this is a quasi-corporation. Now, that was very interesting. She used the word quasi-corporation. So at that point, that's when I started to resolve to come up with ways to change the nature of my relationship to this piece of paper. Now, since the Emergency Banking Relief Act, all property was seized, booty of war. There was a coup d'etat that took place in 1933. And what's fascinating is, back in April of 2012, I was interviewed by two FBI agents. And one of the fascinating questions was, does the Pope own us all through the collateralization of our birth certificates? Now, I find that very interesting. And of course, I did not answer the question. That's a question that was way above their pay grade. And the second question they brought up was about the Emergency Banking Relief Act. Now, what's interesting to me is, and of course, I just basically let them know that I am very aware of that because I've been studying since 2009 the materials by Dr. Eugene Schroeder, which was very well illustrated on this point of the Emergency Banking Relief Act, and that since that time we've been under military law, military rule. So how do we get ourselves out of this mess? That's the real essence, right? So the all caps name, we are presumed sureties, which are debtors to the relationship on this quasi-corporation. So throughout the many years I've been studying this, I've tried things in court, I've done a bunch of different things, and I've had a lot of wonderful interactions with, let's say, people in government, military, judges, all over the place. But there was a memorable moment that I had with a judge, and he basically just said, listen, you are who you are. And he was very diplomatic with me. I mean, he didn't have flags up in the courtroom. He was very jovial, very friendly. He's said, like, what is your pleasure? Several times. And I was very moved by this, because we were able to speak in open honesty for about an hour or so. And of course, I asked for a private session with the judge. I didn't want to speak about these matters in a public forum. Obviously, I don't want to do that to the judge, because they have to wear different hats. So in that discourse, and we were learning a lot from each other, he basically said that, and this was in 2018, September 14th, that you are who you are and you have documentation. I shared with him what I had for documentation, but that I wanted to be able to have some kind of a formal document. So the judge was saying, well, look, maybe you want to do a name change. And I said, I can't agree to that, because this was never my name in the first place, the way it was styled here. And of course, I've opened up trusts and I've opened up ministries and so forth, just so I could use the name in commercial realms or in ministerial realms. I've done that. But I told the judge, I says, I can't get a new name, a name change, because this wasn't even my name in the first place. And I have filed documentation in other courts that agree that that certainly is the case. So I showed him the documents, and he said, you do very well to keep that documentation with you. So I have that. And what I was able to do is I continued, and I told the judge, I'm going to continue to study this and see what other ways I can let the government know that the spiritual problem that I was having was, if the government sees me as their property, and my Bible says in Proverbs that we cannot be surety for a stranger, that all caps name is a stranger. The state of Massachusetts is a stranger. I can't. It's a deeply held religious belief of mine. I can't be surety for this thing, because our scripture say that we will be harmed from this. We will hurt for it. The old words are, we will smart for it. So in essence, what I was able to do is, I would say somewhere in 2017, I came across other people that were doing national status paperwork. And I'm like, look, this doesn't express fully what I want to do. So I went ahead and I created my entire process from scratch, brand new. And I brought in elements, the scriptural aspect of my citizenship in heaven. And sure enough, I put pretty bold things on my application form at the Department of State, and they had me go to a brand new line all the way to the end of the line. They wanted me in a private, area where we could speak and others wouldn't hear what we had to say. And I was very thankful for that, frankly. So at that point, my Department of State document, my application was accepted, my affidavit was accepted, and of course we style these in a very special way. We create declarations of ambassadorial status. They have a couple of different elements in there based upon your needs. We can add in certain elements for those who wish to be under the exceptions rule relating to certain, let's just say, certain products that people don't want to have to take in their body. We were able to help people so that they could be excused from that. So all of this to say is, if you're with us and you contract with Diplomatic Mission for the Cygnus, what we do is we help you to not only fill out the forms the way we did, and several of us have success stories, we also will go through and share with you a wonderful course that's online. And it goes through every single element as to why everything is styled a certain way on the Department of State forms. So you're not left in the dark. It's probably somewhere around 7 hours long. And the reason for that is because I really want you to know in depth why you're doing what you're doing, the evidence for doing what you're doing, because there's a lot of evidence that I've been able to compile throughout my several years of doing this. And then in addition to that, you'll be fortified with incredible confidence so that you can go into the Department of State's office and get this paperwork done. All of my clients have done so with utmost success, and the reason why is because they followed our protocols. So what we do is we help you to remove yourself from being enemy